All right, we'll go to the phones. We've got our second hour guest with us. It is Adam Hildebrand. He is the radio voice of Oral Roberts basketball and baseball and joins us on halftime here. Adam has been on with us before. I think it was for a baseball regional, so this is just a little bit different, though, Adam. How isn't it, though? How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, baseball, I've had a chance to do a few games, but it's starting a little bit later for me than usual this time of year. Usually I'm diving straight in, but it's fun to still be hanging around basketball right now.
Absolutely. Have you stuck around Indianapolis for the week leading up to the Sweet 16?
No, I was. They brought me home. Me and the family were there. I'm not in the bubble, so I think had we played on Friday, probably we would have stuck around. But since we're not playing until Saturday, a chance to come home for a few days, and honestly, it's kind of put us into personal survive and advance mode. It's coming back to the real world all of a sudden and having school and piano lessons and all that kind of stuff for kids, with now the madness of a Sweet 16 right on top of it has added to some craziness, but it's a good time.
From screaming players and screaming coaches and broadcaster trying to control his emotions to coming home to screaming kids. But hey, that is the life when you've got young kids, though, right?
That's right. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Good. So what's the feeling around ORU campus right now? It's the deepest they've ever gone in the NCAA tournament, and it feels like sometimes they're still even overshadowed in their own city and in the state of Oklahoma. So what's the feeling there at ORU?
Yeah, to have the attention of, really the world, but in particular the state, after the other two in-state schoolers got knocked out over the weekend, I think it's pretty neat. And certainly, the program is loving it. The administration of the school is loving it. But there was a really good contingency of fans that came out really to both games. They were in no means, in small numbers for game one against Ohio State, but they were outnumbered by Buckeye fans. I think ORU fans outpaced Florida fans by about 7 or 8 to 1 on Sunday. And as I said on that broadcast, us Midwesterners, if it's within about a 12-hour drive, we consider that driving distance. So there were quite a few people that made the trip up I-44, and they were there and raucous, and there was 1,000 people I hear inside the Navy Center for that game as well. So the excitement is clearly there, and it's around, and maybe even, there might be a certain level of surprise for more casual fans that followed the team and saw some of the setbacks, like against North Dakota at home and some things like that. But for the guys in the locker room and the coaching staff, they don't seem particularly surprised by these outcomes. I think they knew that they had decent matchups in both of those games and a chance to win, and they went out and executed and got it done.
Can you put your finger on what it is that has gotten ORU to this point? Because, really, the three-point shooting isn't quite as good as it's been during the regular season. It seems that being able to take the ball away from opponents and create off those turnovers might be even more meaningful than the 21 threes that they've made, because I know that there's a really good three-point shooting team. Their percentage is down in the tournament, but they've been creating off of all these steals.
And steals have been a big factor. As Paul Mills has said a couple of times, the resiliency of this team has been incredible, considering you're right, they've not shot the three, or really even from the field as well as they're used to. But one thing that has had a major uptick has been the free throw attempts. ORU's been among the nation's leaders in free throw percentage all year, but to go and get so many more free throw attempts than Florida in that game, the Gators came in, I think, plus 24 free throw attempts over their opponents in the last 5 games, and ORU is about minus 18. They flipped the script on them in that game and were the aggressors against a longer and, generally speaking, across the board, a more athletic team in Florida. And so they're finding other ways to get it done, even though the shots haven't necessarily been falling super consistently from three. And that's kind of the encouraging thing from ORU's perspective is, Max has shot it pretty well, but it's not like he's gotten red hot yet by any stretch of the imagination, and the rest of the guys have kind of struggled from three. So if they can hit a couple more threes, then they give themselves a little bit more breathing room. Not that they're ever going to make it easy at this point in the tournament by any stretch of the imagination, but you give yourself a little room for error if you're making more of those three-point shots.
You mentioned Max, that's Abmas. There's Obenor, too, and the two of them have been probably the most productive duo in the entire tournament through the first 2 games. So, you get a guy in Obenor who's big and can shoot from the outside. You get a guard in Abmas who's quick and records a lot of steals and dishes the ball very well. They're extremely dangerous, but what about the rest of ORU?
Well, those other guys have really stepped up their game over the course of the last 6 or 7 weeks here. R.J. Glasper, who played well in the game earlier this year in Fayetteville, went down with a knee injury in Fargo and hasn't played since. And so it was going to take some other guys stepping up to the plate. And Carlos Jurgens has been absolutely massive, in particular on the defensive end of the floor. He's really created a lot of havoc. He's long, and so he's been able to get some deflections and some steals and blocks. But he's also stepped up his game on the offensive end. It's not like he's not showing up with Max and KO putting up 20 points a game, but he's consistently put up 7 or 8 a contest since Glasper went down, and that was huge. And then Deshane Weaver, who missed last year due to an injury, it took him a little while to kind of get back into the rhythm of things, but he has really found that rhythm over the course of these last 4, 5, 6 weeks here. And he's still a little bit inconsistent, but he hit a huge shot to put the Golden Eagles ahead of Florida. It turned out to be the game winner in Sunday's game, and I think he's playing with a lot of confidence right now, and that's going to have to continue if ORU wants to give himself a chance against Arkansas.
Adam Hildebrand, the voice of Oral Roberts University, joining us here on Halftime. Adam, we've talked a little bit prior to getting you on here with us, the previous matchup between Arkansas and Oral Roberts in the non-conference portion of the season. We'll focus on Oral Roberts for a second first, and we'll transition it over to Arkansas. How much has changed? What's been the difference in this team since the last time they met the Razorbacks inside Bud Walton Arena?
I think it's a lot of kind of what we just talked about. I mentioned a couple of names. Francis Lotsis is another guy that I would definitely throw his name in there as a huge difference maker, especially in the post. Lotsis and Weaver, and now also O'Banner's kind of joining that fold as well, have vastly improved their post defense over the course of this year, and that has been very, very helpful, and it was something that ORU had to have, frankly, to be successful in the NCAA tournament. So that post defense has gotten a lot better, and then the defense defending the dribble drive has gotten a lot better as well. Frankly, ORU was not very good at staying in front of ball handlers early on in this season. It's something they really worked on when they got into conference play not long after that game against Arkansas, and I think that has improved quite a bit as well. So those are probably two of the biggest differences. You know, the offense, certainly Asmus and O'Banner are getting more help than they had before, but the defense in particular, I think, is where this team has made the most strides over the course of this year.
And in transitioning over to Arkansas, just for a second, kind of get your thoughts on the Razorbacks. We kind of along the same token, you're starting to see the Razorbacks adapting to their roles. I mean, you're seeing Justin Smith really take over for this team. You know what Moses Moody can bring to the table, Devo Davis. But on the outside looking in, from your perspective as an Oral Roberts broadcaster and just as a outside fan in general, excuse me, what has been some of the differences you've seen with the Razorbacks from last time you saw them to what you're expecting to see this coming Saturday?
It seems like they have been able to do, and I spent most of the day driving yesterday, so I haven't taken my deep dive into Arkansas just yet. But from the outside perspective, it seems like mostly what they've been able to do is just get more consistent at the things they do well. That's something that Paul Mills said for a long time, is figure out what you do well and then do that thing. And it seems like Arkansas has really done a nice job cementing those things over the course of the SEC schedule. I think Eric Musselman seems like a phenomenal coach. The way he interacts with his players and frankly with the public on social media is a lot of fun to watch. And so when you have a vibe like that, it makes coming to the arena for practice a lot more fun. And it seems like the Hogs are really a team that have just gotten better and better over the course of the year. I mean, it's kind of it's coach speak to a certain extent. Whenever you have a rematch like this late in the season, and they'll kind of say, oh, this is a different team than the last time we played them. I don't think that has been more accurate than in this particular matchup. I think both of these teams have gotten a lot better since the last time they met up, and I'll be interested. Those two halves of basketball were so vastly different that it's kind of hard to put a finger on what you think might happen in this game. So it's going to be very interesting to see the chess match between Mills and Musselman and see how that plays out, what adjustments they decide to make and what they decide to go with, because clearly both of these teams are capable, and I don't anticipate anything other than my blood pressure is probably already heightened after an overtime game and a 3-point game. I'm concerned yet excited that we might be heading in that exact same direction again.
You know who I'm happy for, Adam? I'm happy for Solomon Bozeman, because he's one of my favorite Little Rock Trojans that I ever got to watch. He's the reason that they got to the NCAA tournament in 2011, was a Sun Belt Player of the Year. I know he's an assistant there for ORU, and I'm really happy for Solomon.
I'll tell you what, he had the scout for Florida, and I believe has it for Arkansas, if I remember correctly. I'll have to go back and check my notes, but so whichever assistant has the scouts, I get a pregame interview with them, and then in the NCAA tournament, I've gotten to talk with them postgame because Mills and the players have other media availabilities that they have to go take care of. But I spent probably 4 or 5 minutes talking to him postgame, and that dude has been nothing but phenomenal to work with since he arrived on campus. He comes to the gym every day ready to work and ready to pump up his guys and yell at him if he needs to. He's just a fun guy to be around. So I'm with you. Like, for him to be able to experience that, and this coaching staff as a whole, Russell Springman is one of my favorite people. He's been awesome to work with. I go to church with Sam Patterson, and then Coach Mills has obviously been great too. So it's a fun group to be around. I wish I got to be around them a little bit more. I'm used to traveling with them all year because I was Tier 1. I'm not in the bubble for the tournament, but I'm excited for that group and to see what they've been able to put together. It's been a lot of hard work over the last 4 years, and to see it start to come to fruition is neat.
Well, he was lightning on the court as a player. He was really a lot of fun to watch. And appreciate you joining us, Adam. Hope you have a good call on Saturday, whichever way the game goes. Appreciate your time, and hey, maybe we'll see you during an NCAA regional, because when these two teams make a regional, they're going to face each other.
Yeah, I tell you what, this is my 5th year at ORU. It's becoming where I can just write it down on the schedule that I'm going to see Arkansas in the postseason in one sport or another. Yeah. So it's good to talk to you guys, and it seems like this is becoming a yearly tradition. So hopefully that continues.
You got it, Adam.
Appreciate it, Adam.
Radio voice Oral Roberts.